just the amount of growth that we've seen in things like our YouTube, our social media, even our website engagement, just in the last year of working with Impact and working with Endless customers has changed the way we do business from the ground up.
You're listening to the Endless Customers podcast, brought to you by the team at Impact. Endless Customers is the proven system to become the most known and trusted brand in your market. If you want to start to learn the principles of Endless Customers and how you can implement them in your business, pick up a copy of Endless Customers, a national bestseller wherever books are sold. Ready to start implementing Endless Customers in your business? Talk to Impact about how our coaching program can help you implement Endless Customers to success. And if you want to experience Endless Customers in person, do not miss our upcoming conference, Endless Customers Live, in Chicago, March 30th through April 1st, 2026. Registration is now open. And now, onto the show. Here's your host, Alex Winter.
Short form video can feel intimidating, especially if you think you need a big budget or a full production team to make it work. For a lot of companies, that belief is what keeps them from even getting started. Today's episode shows there's another way. We're joined by Adam Martin. He's the media director at Hoel Roofing. Adam built a simple, repeatable system for short-form video by empowering the sales team to record quick, selfie-style videos. Those videos have become Hoel Roofing's best-performing shorts and a key part of their Endless Customers journey. In this conversation, we'll break down how the process works, why authenticity often beats polish, and how this approach helps answer buyer questions and build trust earlier in the sales process. So if you're struggling to get traction with short form video, or you're early in your Endless Customers journey and you're not sure where to start, this episode will give you a practical place to begin. All right, Adam, welcome to the show.
What's up, Alex? We're here and we're having fun, right?
Absolutely. Yes. This is your first time on the show. It's great to meet you. Great to have you here. We have a lot to discuss, the main topic being video today. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, can you just set the stage and let our viewers and listeners know what Hoel Roofing is, a little bit about yourself, and just kind of set the stage for your business?
Yeah. So Hoel Roofing was started by my bosses, Bob and Emily, about 8 years ago now, is when they filed the LLC. And it just started as a way for them to provide for their family. I mean, legitimately to do their own thing in a way that they can bring their kids up in a business and understand the value of good hard work, on a day-to-day basis, and to earn your living with your hands. And they've kind of passed that on to each and every one of us that they've brought onto the team since too. So I've been with Hoel Roofing for 4 years, going on 5 this coming November. And even when I first got started with them, I had a little bit of video stuff going on, but I started out going out to job sites, helping swing a hammer, like we like to say it, actually not putting shingles on. That is never going to be any part of my job and never was. But, some of the, tightening screws, like doing that sort of thing, like the remodel side of things I helped out with here and there. But dominantly, in the last 2.5 years, I've shifted more to this media director sort of position, less in the field and more of the actual, like, taking care of the website or shooting videos, working with the team, basically just directing the marketing for the entire business.
Wow, that's excellent. That sounds like quite a evolution. And where did you start out? Would you start out as a videographer, or did you come in as more of like remodeling and the construction piece?
So the job that I actually applied for, that Bob posted, was just for somebody to help out on job sites who knew how to back a trailer. And so I was like, hey, I went to church with Bob and Emily years ago. I was like, they're good people. Well, I need a job. I'll see what it's all about. I can back a trailer. So
wow. And it's evolved into you becoming this head of marketing almost. That's what it sounds like to me, and running all the media. Did you ever think that was going to be your journey as you were starting to work with Bob and with the team?
Funnily enough, because Bob and Emily also helped with our youth group at the church that I met them at. Mm-hmm. Bob knew me well enough that when I sat down for my first interview with him, we actually got into his truck and he drove to a job site, took me with him. And he had the conversation with me like, hey, I kind of know, like, because I know you well enough and because I kind of know your skills too, like, this is what I need you to do for the time being. I need you to go out to the job sites and swing a hammer, like he said. But I also know that that's not what you're called to do. And so I want you to eventually, evolve into this other position should everything go the way that I'm planning, or that I really want everything to go with this business too. So, and luckily, and by the grace of God for us, everything went, dominantly according to plan, as small business does. But we're here, we're still sitting here right here in the little town of Rushville, Indiana. And I get to say that I work not even a quarter mile from my house. So,
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It sounds like you're very passionate about what you do, and it's also with friends and family, and it's convenient. I mean, that checks all the boxes. That's really
yeah,
a spectacular scenario there. So congrats on all of that. I'm curious though.
thank you.
So you're talking with Bob and Emily. You're coming into this job. Was there a conversation about Endless Customers, the book, the system? Like, were they already practicing that? Can you give us a little background on like how that came into play as far as being a small business and starting to go on that journey and what that looked like?
So, especially in the like 3 years ago sort of range at this point, Bob actually encouraged us as a team to start, like reading a book every, at least once a quarter, once a month, whatever our personal cadence, worked out to be, but just, for some development, some growth, something like that. And from the very beginning, Bob challenged me to work in at least one or two like marketing driven books, from the beginning. And magically, by the grace of God, as I like to say, one of the first books that he handed me for, the marketing based was actually a small book by the name of They Ask, You Answer, which has evolved into this endless customers, idea and principles now. But it was one of those, I sat down and I started reading it the first time and I was just like, man, this has really great ideas, but I just have no idea how we work this in with the business. And so, through finishing the book, I actually read it a second time too, before we got started with Impact and, with Endless Customers now. And we've slowly started to ingrain those ideas into the business. But I think it was really when we actually like partnered up with you guys and got to experience that one-on-one coaching with people like Brian and Lindsay and Joe, and everybody else that I've worked with personally, that it was like, oh yeah, okay, I remember this, I remember that. Okay, so that's how these things really work together. And, we were able to really build things out from there.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I'm curious too. So you got my wheel spinning, right? You started to work with coaches. We recommend that. It's a really wonderful system. It's a proven system, but it takes time. It takes energy. It takes resources. It takes dollars. It's not something you just flip a switch and go. So I'm curious, what made you guys want to talk to us and engage with Impact and to start the coaching program versus trying it on your own?
So Bob is a very careful person. We'll say it, very calmly that way. And at least a couple of his buddies from different, groups or things, the other roofers or people in the contracting services, that he was familiar with, that he'd grown to know and trust. At least a couple of them had been like, hey, so we've been doing this impact marketing thing, and you should at least check it out because we think it could be really good for what you guys are trying to do. And so we ended up just reaching out, and I think honestly it was Bob at the very beginning that was just like, hey, I'm going to reach out, see what this goes. And then after the first meeting or two, he like started roping the rest of us in, to get our perspective, our feeling, and just like, hey, does this seem like something, that you guys think would be beneficial to us? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but 100% I'm ready to go all in with it. And we all agreed, we had, I mean, all the way up to when we had our very first alignment meeting. When you sit down with a coaching company of any kind and they're like, okay, our first meeting is going to be 4 hours. Everybody looks around and goes, are they serious? 4 hours? Because, in our opinion, with everything, it's like, man, do I even have the 4 hours in my day to dedicate to that?
Sure.
I firmly believe now, like, one of the best things that we've done. I mean, for the business, for anything else. And I mean, just the amount of growth that we've seen in things like our YouTube, our social media, like which I count YouTube as a social media,
Hmm.
but like even our website engagement, our Google engagement numbers, like everything just in the last year of working with Impact and working with endless customers has changed the way we do business, from the ground up.
Wow. That's a really great story. And I love hearing that, at least from what you're saying, it sounds like Bob really didn't try to force this on you and wasn't like, I think this is what we should do. Everybody get on board. He really wanted your input, and getting that buy-in is critical. So for people out there watching and listening, when you have that buy-in and the whole team is tracking in the same direction, it creates this groundswell that really, I don't know, it does a lot of good work, a lot of really good work, and helps you grow your business. And it also seems like very exciting and motivating. So you did the alignment day. You had your 4 hour long meeting, which I know
Yep.
I know seemed a little intimidating, and it was definitely worth it. What were the takeaways from that alignment day? Like, you come out of that meeting, your team seems to be all focused on the same trajectory. What were like the instant takeaways? Like, all right, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z coming out of this, and getting after it.
I'm pretty sure the comment that was made between us as we, closed the Zoom call and, we're just kind of sitting there in the everything afterwards. Because if you see me point that way, it's because my office sits right next to the room where we did the meeting with
Okay.
everything, our big like conference room.
Okay.
Um, but as we were all sitting around after the Zoom meeting ended, it was just like, we've got a lot to do. Like, this is going to be a lot for us to work on, but at the same time it was like, okay, let's get started, let's get this rolling, because not only were we shown like what could be possible with what we were going to do, but we were shown how we were going to achieve it.
Hmm.
Because from the moment that we saw the roadmap, the first time of just like, hey, these are the points that we look for, for these time periods of working with us, these indicators, these markers that show us that, that we're progressing the way that we should be. It was encouraging because we were already doing some of the things that were in the, like 3 to 6 month part, like we'd already checked some of the boxes across. So it was like, okay, we've got some work to do, but we don't have an unbearable amount of work to do,
Hmm.
like it seemed possible, and I think that was important for us too, because it brought us to the point that we were like, okay, we're on board, we're ready to go with this. Now we just got to bring the rest of the team, up to speed with everything and get things rolling.
Right. Right. So from a content standpoint, can you paint the picture of like what were you guys doing before, and then maybe how this system and going on this journey has shifted how you do content and like what that mix looks like for you and the team?
Yeah. So before we started working with Endless Customers Impact, 100% our content was just like, hey, I think it'd be a good idea if we shot a video about this, and so we had a few videos that kind of explained like stuff that we did, or, like that were the idea of like, hey, here are things that you need to do to prep your house for, for winter, like that sort of thing.
And
And
and did you have a videographer in house at the time? Was this like you already had somebody on the team, or oh, this is you?
it,
Okay.
100%, like it was just extra onto like anything else that I generally was doing, if I was going out into the field or whatever. Like it worked because when I was out in the field I could get some footage, just
Sure.
carry my phone around, and get enough to make it happen. And then we would block out days and I would shoot, the content of the video with Bob, or I would, have this computer right here in my office, and I would just swing the mic down in front of my face and, record whatever voiceover we needed for the video, stitch it all together.
Hmm.
Like, luckily, my degree is actually in digital video production. So, I'm very used to and, have done a lot of editing in Premiere, like a lot of that side of everything. So that, all the editing side was natural for me. Like it was getting all of the ideas together. It was putting the videos together, like building the story that took the most time and the challenge, because it
Hmm.
wasn't so much me telling the story. It was me getting the story we were trying to tell, going. Um, but yeah, back in those days, it was 100% just like, hey, when we find the time, let's do it. There wasn't really any real cadence to it. There wasn't really any real planning to it. It was just, hey, this sounds like a good idea. Yeah, we should do that. So we put out some product videos, if you want to call them, like we did different videos for all the different styles of metal roofs that we install.
Hmm.
We did installation videos, like explaining to people all the steps that go into it. But like I said, there was no real planning, there was no real cadence, there was no real structure to what we were doing. It was just, it'll happen when it happens, sort of thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So once you started to work with a coach and
Mhm.
you started to understand the endless customer system, especially talking about video with like the selling seven and assignment selling, how did that affect your content going forward and like a strategy around it, or like starting to shape content that was going to answer your buyer's most pertinent questions?
Well, in one word, direction. It gave me somewhere to really like set my eyes and start charging. And what really made it work was the fact that it wasn't just me that was doing it anymore. It wasn't just on Bob. It wasn't just one or two people in the business that were, getting things going at that point.
Mm,
Because one of the very first challenges that we got from Brian, our coach, was no, your sales team needs to be fully involved in this process with you. Like if your sales guys aren't, the ones who are dominantly on camera, and like yes, Bob and Emily and everybody should be on camera at some point, but like if your guys that are going out and meeting with your customers are not the guys who are like being seen by your customers in your content, you're doing everything wrong. Because not only does it help us as a business, to show them as experts in their field, but it also helps them as sales guys because, I mean, let's be honest, it's their job, it's their living. It helps them as sales guys to be known as an expert in that field too, so that, yes, we want people to see the video and go, oh, I want to call Hoel Roofing, for their roof, for their siding, for, whatever. But it's kind of cool because we've kind of started seeing a little bit on our social media and a little bit like of people reaching in where they're like, hey, so I just wanted to ask, can Tanner come out and take a look at my roof? Because I saw this video that he shot, and like it's not happening regularly yet, but it's happening just enough that we're going, mm-hmm, yep, tell me more.
that's really cool. No, that's
It
that's
is.
excellent. That's the dream scenario. Yeah,
Right,
and
exactly.
and so for your sales team, have they ever have your sales team, have they created video content before to basically build a rapport before they even meet these clients, or having potential clients that they've never even spoken to going like, hey, I want to talk to Tanner? Like, has that ever happened before for these people?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I mean, even if I look back, to the first year and a half, 2 years, of doing things here the way that we were doing things, like our our sales guys, I mean, every now and again, if they saw something like crazy or weird out in the field, like we had, encouraged them, like, hey, you know, shoot a video. Because we use a tool called CompanyCam, that makes it very easy. They're already going around and, they have a checklist of things that they're supposed to take pictures of while they're doing their inspections for their, estimates, for writing up their estimates and everything.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and within CompanyCam, all they have to do is swipe over to video, and they have a picture in picture option, or they can just shoot, what they're seeing. And with the picture in picture, then you see their face and you see what they're looking at, sort of thing. But, it started off as us, before anything with impact, it was us just being like, hey, if you see something crazy, like shoot a video, make it work. And so every now and again, like not often at all, like once a month maybe, I would get a video. One of the guys would send me over the link and be like, hey, I just shot this, let me know what you think. And it would be like, hi, I'm Adam Martin with Hoel Roofing and Remodeling, and I'm out here in XYZ town. And what I noticed is, and those videos were great, except by the time that we actually got to what we were showing off in the video, most people had just tuned it out. It was gone
Yeah.
because, we got lost in all of the other stuff in the beginning. But more recently, the way that we've kind of evolved this, and the way that I've worked with Impact and everybody to encourage our sales team to get better with, and to the point that some of them even are calling other ones YouTubers now, is now when I said this in our revenue team meeting on Monday, like it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Legitimately, I've gotten on-site videos, we call them now, from our sales guys. Um, I've gotten on-site videos from one of our guys that was literally just, hey, we just got a fresh batch of snow, but I wanted to show off. We just did this roof, like the day before it snowed with everything, and it's all great. Like everything's all good and fine, and we can tell that it's insulated correctly because the snow is all staying on the roof, the way it's supposed to be. Like answering questions of like, are you guys still working even though it's snowing? Yes. Are like, do you guys do good work? Yes, you can see it,
Yeah.
like all of these things, while all at the same time, that sales guy is just like, yep, just wanted to come back out here and check, make sure that we did a good job on the job that I sold, like showing that we care across the board too. So, um, and I mean, even on top of that, I have guys that are sending us videos now, that it's like, hey, I just wanted to shoot this video real quick because this customer called us out because their contractor walked off the job, and you can tell that their roof or their siding or whatever it is that the guys are showing off is half done, or like they came and they laid this much of it and then they left, they moved on, took the money with them. And
Yikes. Yikes.
I wish that wasn't a problem with our industry, but unfortunately that's a problem with our industry. And every time I get one of those videos, I want to give the sales guy a hug because across the board, some of the best videos that we post, that we put out there, are the ones that are like, this is something that we do, that other people don't do. We take over the job, after somebody else has left it behind, and we do it the right way. Or, we install this, that other people won't do because we want to do it the right way.
Mhm. Well, it's
It's
it's providing education on top of it. So it's like, hey, this is
right.
the wrong way to do it. And unfortunately, this situation might have occurred, but we're gonna fix it, and we're gonna show you what to look out for so that this doesn't happen to you. And then we're gonna show you the right way to do it. That's education, and education, as
Yep.
we know, builds trust. That's the biggest principle coming out of the book Endless Customers. So I think the way that you're approaching content is fascinating, because I hear a lot from potential clients and from people that are thinking about going on the Endless Customers journey, like, oh, I'm a roofer, or oh, I'm a dentist, or whatever, insert whatever industry, and they're like, I don't think we have enough topics to create enough content. Like there's no way we're going to run out of ideas for content. And I think what you're doing is proving that wrong, that like there's almost an opportunity at every corner for content, and you can have all your sales team doing it, and everyone can use their phone. This doesn't have to be this huge production anymore, where you can really keep it real and still educate people in a meaningful way. And I'd love that you have got your team and everybody tracking to do the same thing. That's just awesome to see.
Yeah. And like I said, that's the biggest encouragement that I make to the guys too, is like, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Like just show off, what we're doing. Because our customers want to see us. They don't want to see, you know, all the huge bit, like, yes, they do want to see all the, the issues and everything else, but they don't want to see everything that we do. They just want to see us.
Right.
So if our guys go out there and shoot a video and just say, hey, look at this great Owens Corning roof we just completed. If you'd like, to make this sort of update to your house, great, awesome, give us a call. Perfect.
Right.
They spent a minute of their time between opening their phone, opening the app, recording the video, and uploading the video, depending on their internet connection.
Sure.
You know, and
Sure.
then it's available. And I mean, at that point, even for me, as the guy who's putting it on social media, on on YouTube, on everything else, for me, then I downloaded it off of CompanyCam. I upload it, maybe do a little bit of editing to it in Premiere or something like that. And
Mhm.
then generally I run it into a caption generating software online somewhere, something like CapCut. And you know, throws captions on it so that people can watch the video without hearing the video if that's what they choose to do, or that it clears up the audio a little bit, especially if it's a little bit windy, because it's never windy outside, especially when you're up on a roof or something like that.
Right.
But, and then dominantly after it's got captions on it, and I've done everything that I can to make it as clear as it can be for people to see, people get to see it. It goes on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, all the way across.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. When we started posting all of these on-site videos, all these things that our sales team were shooting, they were they were okay. They weren't bad. We were generally, getting a few hundred views here and there.
Yes, I was going to ask you
But
this. I wanted to know. So you get a couple
yeah,
hundred views. What has this done from a traction perspective of like results or like some numbers that, yeah, this is getting me excited. I'm curious to see what it's done.
so the more that I've dug into, especially like keywords, into like really trying to make things findable and searchable, for the ways that people actually search for things.
Sure.
The more that I've dug into it, and the more that I've done my best with, especially with tools like vidIQ, things like that. The more that we've kept consistently posting these videos and the more that we've refined what we're really going for with these videos, um, I'm surprised anymore if any of our on-site videos on YouTube get less than 1,000 views now. Like,
Wow.
and that's generally within the first 4 or 5 days. Like, legitimately, most of them anymore get up to 12, 14, 1,500 views. Um, we had one just the other day that I posted, that was a wraparound porch extension that we did, including installing a like an access ramp and stairs, for this customer.
Hmm.
And it wasn't huge, but our sales guy Chris just shot a video walking around. There's a bunch of snow on the ground and ice and everything else, but he just walks around and explains it, and it's just like, hey, this customer called us out because they wanted an accessibility upgrade. They, were getting a little bit on the older side and weren't able to really enjoy their porch anymore because of the steps, and it was getting difficult for them to even get into their home because of it. But they called us to see what we could do about it, and we presented them this idea of, hey, we can extend your porch just a little bit, add on this ramp, add a couple of steps, onto it here and there, and all the while showing off what we had already completed with it, and said, and now this customer's over the moon. They can actually use their property the way that they want to now. And the last I checked, on YouTube alone, that short had almost 4,500 views, and I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in the realm of 2 or maybe 3 weeks old at this point, and it's still getting views.
That's
So
excellent. Yeah, no, that's excellent. I love hearing that. I really do. So it sounds like you're getting great numbers. Those are above average numbers, I would say. It's making me jealous. I'm like, I want thousands of views, and I don't think any company out there would say different. Everybody wants that. So again, it goes back to building trust means just keeping it real, not being afraid to put yourself out there, answer some of these questions that everyone's asking for, showing videos in real time, and keeping up with your content. It clearly works. So from not just a view standpoint, views are great. How does that translate for you from a results, like for the business, as far as like bottom line and leads and people that are coming through the different funnels you guys have into the business?
yeah, one of my favorite statistics, that Bob has shared just with the team in general, is how proud he is of us, of, I mean, A, everything that we did last year, but B, how we've really incorporated all of the stuff from Impact and from Endless Customers, like the way that we've all just come together and grown through it. Because contracting in general, especially in the roofing side of everything, was down about 40% revenue wise last year,
Mhm.
like across the board in the United States,
Okay.
40% lower than it was in 2024. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I'm proud to say that we exceeded our sales numbers from 2024 with 2025. We didn't necessarily hit the full goal that Bob set for us for 2025. However, he has admitted since then that it was a little bit unrealistic. But the fact that the entire industry was down 40% and we still managed to grow by, I don't want to say 20%, because it may not have been that much, but it was a significant amount. I will say that. Like, that just speaks volumes to the effort, that all of us have put in, but at the same time, just how well all of the impact marketing endless customers system works too. Because I mean, by all means, we should not have done as well as we did last year, but because of the amount of trust that we've been able to generate in our local area, and I mean, understand our company runs dominantly on a retail model too. So it's not like, like we're those storm chasers who are going out and, 99% of our work is on insurance, based stuff. Like, honestly, somewhere in the realm of 90 to 95% of our work is just building that relationship with our neighbors all across East Central Indiana.
Yeah.
The people that we actually live somewhat near to. And we're pretty honest about that. Like, from where I'm sitting right now in Rushville, we only really go about an hour and a half in a circle, and that's about it. If it takes much more than that, it's just not worth it for us, to send our crews that far or anything else too.
Sure.
So
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. And that's some substantial growth. 15 to 20% growth without whatever's going on with the industry is amazing in and of itself. But then to also compare that to the industry being down 40%, almost half, and you're still growing, that speaks volumes. And I'm so happy to hear that. That's just a testament to you guys and the team. And I also, something I took away from what you said, and I think it's really important to highlight here. How has it been working the sales and the marketing team? Because usually, we hear that those teams are usually in silos. They don't really play well together. It sounds like you guys have broken down all those walls, all those barriers, and it's clearly working for you. So what's that been like for you and the team?
yeah, so if you'd have asked me this question a year ago, Alex, the sales guys were cool. Like, they were all right, whatever. Like, we were coworkers and it was kind of chill. They'd come into the office and I'd just be like, yeah, what's up? Having fun yet today? But like, now, after we've implemented these what we call revenue team meetings, which I get is a little bit of lingo, it's literally just sales and marketing actually meeting together. Sales sacrifices one of their Monday morning meetings, because they meet every single Monday morning,
Mm-hmm.
once a month, at minimum once a month. Myself and our content writer, Toyosi, as well, sit down with the sales team, and generally Bob will join us too. And this is a time for us to have a conversation about, like, hey, here's what we see is going well. What questions are you guys still getting from homeowners, that we still need to answer? What are the dominant things that you guys are getting out in the field? So that not only can we say, like, hey, you guys are doing well and here's the proof, like, here's the data that I have that says everything that you guys are doing is working, but at the same time, building up that momentum of, like, okay, so now what questions can we answer? What are people asking you when you're, at your appointments in the homes of the people that we're working with? What questions are they asking you that we can answer, that you won't have to answer them anymore?
Yeah.
That we can answer either in a blog, or that we can answer in a post, or that we can answer in a video format, that people can find. And then, instead of you having to spend an extra 30 minutes, having this conversation with the homeowner in their home, we can save you the time where, while you're packing up your ladder, from doing your inspection or whatever else, you can say, I hear you. I see your question. I have a video. If you would just take a couple of minutes while I'm cleaning up, doing everything here, just watch this real quick and then ask me any questions you have afterwards. Like, that
That's
has
money.
made it so that, yeah, our sales team has gone from the point where, like, one of our sales guys uh, was asking for like 2 hours for an appointment, because it was taking him that long to make that connection with the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm pretty sure that all of our sales guys are able to have a full conversation with the homeowner, to go and provide that sort of value to the homeowner and provide their estimate in an hour. Like,
Wow.
I don't want to say they've cut their time in half, but in general, like, it seems like that's how we're scheduling everything now. Like that the sales team has gotten that much value out of it.
Wow.
And on top of that, I've felt it as kind of a shift. Like when we started doing the revenue team meetings too, like I would sit down in the room and it was just like, marketing's in here again. This is another one of those weird meetings, isn't it? And now, like the one that we had this last Monday, everybody was like, it was happy. Like we went through wins at the beginning. Everybody, was sharing everything. And then when we asked, like, hey, what questions have you guys been getting? The ideas flowed. I have notes from this week, of 5, 6 different video ideas that we wrote down just from stuff from questions that they're getting from homeowners, from comments that they were getting from homeowners, from things that they run into in the field that they were like, hey, we should really have content about this. And that sort of collaboration between our teams has made it to where it's like, instead of just like, man, marketing or man, sales, they just can't do anything right, can they? When one little thing goes wrong, now it's like, oh, okay, I see where this problem is, and now we can fix this. Like now we work together in a way that it helps us grow together instead of it just being like, oh, well, that's sales's problem. Oh, that's marketing's problem.
Right. Right. No, that's the dream scenario. So 2 big takeaways for me. You cut your sales meeting times with clients in half, but still provide the same value, build the same trust, so you can have more meetings like that, which is just, that's what everybody wants, especially salespeople.
Yep.
But then also, I love that you're getting your content ideas in these revenue meetings, and that's what they're designed for. These revenue squad meetings are designed so that you break down these walls, so you can talk to your sales team. You get real ideas from real customers, boots on the ground. This isn't just like marketing coming up with these like, up in the cloud sort of ideas that may or may not work. It's like you're getting real info, and then you can make meaningful content. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that you guys are doing this. It sounds like you're crushing it. So my last question here, for people out there watching and listening, what would you say, or like, what advice would you give to other businesses that maybe are reading the book, or they want to come to the event, or they're like just starting to dip their toe in the proverbial endless customers pool? What would you say to them?
Whatever you're feeling, however worried you are about whether or not it's right for you, do it. Try it. Come to Endless Customers Live, come to Impact Plus or Impact Live, come to one of the events, dip your toe in, see it, experience it for yourself. Get in contact with a coach, get started, because it's the best thing that you will do for your business. But don't do it if you're not going to go all in, because if you don't get 100% of your team together, willing and able and ready to implement it, it's not going to work.
Mic drop. That was well said. Well said. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for sharing the whole roofing story and for sharing your story with us, Adam. It's been awesome talking with you and having you on the show.
Very much. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, we're going to have you back. I want to hear how things keep progressing, and hopefully I'll see you at Endless Customers Live in Chicago in the spring.
Oh, it's very possible.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
Sounds good. Well, for everybody there watching and listening, this is Endless Customers. I'm your host, Alex Winter. We will catch you on the next episode.